Global Broadcast Centre. We're just south of the airport and from the metropolitan area of Austin in Texas. Just next to a little place called Waterloo, actually. Don't even do the other thing, really. It is 3.4 miles around, 20 corners, been resurfaced a couple of times since the first time that IMSA came here back down through the years, and also in fact even since we were here last year for Formula One. But that means that we have got a slightly different challenge for us. Shay Adam alongside me in the booth. Hello Shay, how you doing?
Hello, John. Really excited for this weekend. We've already officially crowned one of our champions. Well, unless he runs someone over in the paddock with a golf cart, Luke Hartog will be the 2024 Porsche Carrera Cup North America champion. But we have two other categories where the battling is tight and fierce. Alan Metney came into this race weekend. He's the hometown hero with a slight advantage. It was 11 points over second in the championship. After getting pole position, he's knocked it up. It's now 12 over Efren Castro, race winner both times out last week at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. But there are still four drivers who mathematically stand a chance in the Pro-Am class. And in Masters, it's been the story of a comeback all year long. Chris Belomo trying to catch back up to Matt Halcomb, and now he's within touching distance. But this weekend is the weekend that's going to make the big difference and find out who will be our champions in the other two categories.
That's a very good point that you have here. We'll talk about the new surface. I was here as well, about 4 weeks ago, if that, for the World Endurance Championship. Drivers had a lot to say about the new surface, the darker areas on the track that you'll see and we'll talk about, certainly up the start-finish straight, up Big Red, up the hill to turn one. It's very smooth and it has a lot of grip in a forward and back, in a longitudinal grip area, but on the lateral grip, on the side-to-side grip, not so much. And we saw earlier on, Shay, in practice and qualifying, one or two drivers just struggling slightly with that when they were trying to turn in or accelerate out of the corners.
Yeah, it caught Angel Benitez out at one point in time. He went for a spin at the exit of turn number one. But the other thing that we always focus on when we come to this track, John, the curbs. They have been quite large since we first came here. What would that have been? Back in 2013, I think it was, with the American Le Mans Series. The curbs are big, and if you go over them, they can create damage. Earlier in qualifying, we had the number 98, which is the PT Autosport with JDX Racing entry with radiator damage. We don't know if that came from striking a curb, but when I talked to the team earlier, they said it just ruptured. And well, race car parts don't typically just rupture unless they have a little bit of help. So True. We need to respect the curbs and to not take too much out of the Yokohama tires early on.
Fantastic crowd on hand, getting who've stayed on after the Formula One sprint race that we had earlier on. No spoilers there if you don't know what happened. Let me run you down the grid. It's a magnificent 36 car entry here at the Circuit of the Americas. And on the back, on row 18, it's Tom Balamis for ACI Motorsport and Javier Ripoll in the Pro-Am class for Momentop FMS Motorsport by RGB Motorsport. Jody Miller for MGM and Kelly Moss's John Getz, who's still got an outside chance of the Masters Championship as he moves into the final two rounds in P33. Aero Motorsports, Josh Connolly for Pro-Am, and Josh Gilliland, new to the series from the Porsche Sprint Cup and also some Porsche Cars America, Porsche Club America Racing, John, is new into the championship. Welcome along, we should say, in the Masters category. Todd Parriott and Matt Holcomb are on row 15 in the Kelly Moss and ACI cars. JDX's Joel Johnson in the Masters has Peter Atwater and Top Racing for company on P27. Ahead of them, it is Joel Johnson for it is Jordan Wallace for Kelly Moss and Moise Aretsky for Baby Bull Racing. GMG Racing have Kyle Washington back with them in P24 on the outside of row 12. On the inside, Scott Blind for Ruckus Racing. Jeff Mosing for Top Performance and Chris Balomo for Kelly Moss are on row number 11. Top 10 rows of the grid, James Sofranas for GMG Racing and Efren Castro for Kelly Moss. Jake Pedersen and Marco Cironi. Marco Cironi on the inside of row number 9 is our pole sitter for Pro-Am. Madeline Stewart for JDX in the outside position of row number 8 with Angel Benitez on the inside. Then it's Thomas Kiefer, another debutant in the series. Hello, Thomas. Welcome along. And Sabra Cook for Era Motorsport. She'll be looking to go forward from there. Colin Comiskey for Top Racing Performance is on the outside of row 6 with Alan Metney in the number 99 Kelly Moss racing car for Company. Then it's Michael McCann as we head into the top 10 for Kelly Moss Racing. He's got the number 8 car alongside the number 4 JDX car of Elias de la Torre. And then it's Yves Baltas for ACI Motorsports and Dan Clark on row number 4. Row 3, Alex Sedgwick in his final outing for JDX Racing in this championship. He's looking to move into either a Michelin Pilot Challenge or even perhaps the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. We wish him well with that. And he has a chance of a really good championship position here. Alongside him on row number 3 is Jimmy Libra for ACI Motorsports. Ryan Yardley, who topped the one and only practice session for Top Racing Performance, ends up in 4th in qualifying here, with Zach Vanier, twice a winner this season for JTX Racing, in 3rd. And the front row is Michael Cooper for Baby Bull Racing. That's his best qualifying of the season, ahead of the championship winner-elect Luke Hartog for Kelly Moss Racing. And that's how the 36 cars will line up, with 35 minutes plus 1 lap, Shea Adam, to go a slightly different race time than what we're used to, but that makes it race certain, time certain, because of course we're on a Formula 1 weekend. Although in fairness, all of the Formula 1 activity has finished for the day. Oh no, I tell a lie, of course. We've still got the main race qualifying to come, and that's why we have to be absolutely certain when we're going to finish. What has caught your eye with the grid as the cars are coming around to start behind the safety car, just coming into turn 19 now?
Last year, the same drivers won both of the races on both of the days, but our pro driver and our masters driver are not back. So we're going to have new winners in both of those categories. Meanwhile, James Sofronis in GMG Racing number 14 did 2 races all of last year, both of them at Circuit of the Americas. Both of them, he was victorious. So watch out for that number 14 to be strong.
Not sure who has the advantage as they go up the hill. They'll spread out to go across the hash marks, and you cannot break ranks before the start-finish line, waiting for the green flag with 35 minutes on the clock. It is a side-by-side start, and Luke Hartog gets the drop as he goes across the line. Already the 37 car way out of line, and that is the Cook car, and that should not be that far out of line. That may well get pulled back from there, I'm afraid, as they go through and up towards and through turn 1. Everyone has got through that. There's still a big bump at turn number 3, despite a couple of resurfacing efforts here. The beautiful serpentine run to turn number 9 has everyone following through. What a great sight and sound, Shea Adam, with these 4-litre flat sixes.
And Canada leads the way. Zach Vanier with the best start as Matt Halcomb goes over. Now, he did land on his wheels again, but that is our Masters class champion, the championship leader, who's now sitting by the side of the track. Who was involved with him? That's the number 70. That's one of our newcomers, John, who was also involved in that incident. Glad to see Halcomb with his door open as Johnson manages to drive away, but Halcomb signaling to the emergency services that he is okay. We should be going to a full course caution.
Yeah. And there's no doubt about the fact that we will have the Porsche safety car out, and that should neutralise the racing immediately.
Oh,
And
Matt Halcombe is not happy with the way that his season has gone. He does not deserve his championship effort to end like this if indeed the team can't get the car repaired.
well, the good news is, despite the fact that that car has been over, it's the driver's door mirror, and that's about all. I can't even see a dent in the roof of that
No.
GT3 Cup car as they came through. I was just congratulating the guys. So it was right. So it was a sideways. All right, it didn't go all the way over. He went onto his driver's door and then back. So that was the number 70 red and white machine that went sideways. May have had a little help. That's the Johnson cars, the Rainmaker machine. Apologies that you're not hearing any of the car noise at the moment. That's beyond our control. And we'll speak to F1 TV about that and see if we can get that sorted. Beautiful bit of avoidance from right at the back of the field where we had, I think that was that the 74 car going through there?
Yes.
Which was the Conley car. Yes, it was. That could have been much worse here in so many different ways.
It could have been utter disaster. And the fact that the car landed on all four of its Yokohama tires and hopefully, as you said, just a door mirror. I mean, the crew will, of course, crawl over this thing and make sure that it is good to go. But hopefully they can get it ready to go tomorrow. I'm going to have to do some arithmetic now to try and figure out, with the last place finish, how many points is Matt Halcombe going to walk away from today with?
That's a very good point. He is scored as last at the moment. It was a pretty clean start, as we mentioned. The yellow and...
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chair.
I think Sabre Cook moved before the start line as well, John, so that should be a drive-through penalty for not respecting the start procedure.
Well, there was almost another big incident just before we saw the accident that's brought out the yellow, because John Gilliland, new driver to the series from Porsche Club of America and Porsche Sprint Cup, very, very sideways, but used the runoff area to his advantage in the number 80 Porsche. It was so tidy. It really was before those two came together, and it's a fairly innocuous sideways slide. But as we've mentioned before, the problem stems from the fact that Joel Johnson in the JDX Racing number 70 car gets sideways, and of course the Yokohama wheels, the Yokohama tyres on the racing wheels, they have a camber on them, so they're sticking out more at the bottom than they are at the top. And beautiful flat floor for aerodynamics on the Carrera Cup cars. But if those wheels get together, it's actually shaped pretty much the same as you would have from a single-seater. And people, I think, perhaps forget that when we've got closed-wheel cars.
Oh, for sure. And it can be one of those things that it's just the wheels touching at precisely the wrong angle that sends all of this into slight chaos. Doing a very quick bit of arithmetic. If Matt Halcombe is scored with an 11th place finish, which would mean that nobody else gets thrown out in post-race tech or whatnot, that gives him 5 points on today. If perhaps Chris Paloma were to go on and win the race, he earns 20 points. If he were to take the point for fast lap, that would be a 21-point swing. And coming into today, the gap was only 32. So that does liven the championship up even more.
With one race to come tomorrow morning.
Correct.
Yeah. Prior to the Formula One action. This is the final IMSA sanctioned race action of the year. And lovely to have your company from wherever you are. All of you tuning in, either on the video stream on imsaradio.com and the YouTube feeds. And again, apologies for no sound from trackside. That's beyond our control this weekend and beyond the control of NASCAR Productions up in Concord. That's not coming to your broadcast I'm afraid from Formula One TV. They are working on it at the moment, is what we've been told. And we'll try and get that back to you as quickly as possible. Meantime, Shea, at the front of the field, Zach Vanier took the, whilst we were looking at what was going on behind, before the yellow came out and the safety car was deployed, Zach Vanier, looking for his third win of the season, took the lead of the race over Luke Hartog, who was on pole.
Zach had an amazing start. He was the only car to keep it within track limits on the exit of turn one. Luke Hartog and Michael Cooper both went very, very wide.
They were the front row, yeah.
They were the front row, and Zach Vanier went, "Oh, perfect. Thanks, guys," and snuck on through. A beautiful start by the Canadian to do this 2 weeks in a row. Because remember, he did this at the start of race one at Road Atlanta last week, too. So clearly, Zach Vanier has, in his first season of this level of competition, he's really started to figure it out toward the end of the season. And you mentioned the two wins that he's previously got, the one last weekend. But the first win he ever got was at the Miami Grand Prix. And that weekend, his other race finish was second. So maybe it's these high stakes, high pressure, bigger audience weekends that Zach Vanier decides to just turn it up that little extra bit.
So the trackside recovery have done their job in getting at least one of the two cars, with Chris Palomo's car already on the back of the flatbed. And we're just waiting for Joel Johnson in the Masters class for JDX Racing, the red and white car that was involved there. Now, what I don't know is how he got sideways, because we were looking so much on what happened, whether Joel had a little tap from behind or whether he lost it on the bump at turn 3. We mentioned all of the... Yeah, well, we mentioned all of the resurfacing, and there's been a lot of it. And some of the track, all of the track has been resurfaced in the last couple of years, but some of it has been resurfaced again, like the piece of the track that the cars are on at the moment, which is down the back straight into turn 12. Now, that said, it's already rippling up again, and you can see, if you look carefully, that you can see the tyre marks. You can see the rubber is dark light, dark light, dark light. That tells you that there are very slight rippling. The MotoGP guys a few years ago were complaining about micro creases in the tarmac at that point. This comes from relatively heavy and high downforce vehicles like the WEC cars in the years past, back again this year, of course, a month or so ago, and Formula One cars. High downforce, high weight cars, they actually pull up the surface and move them along as if you were running your hand down the top sheet of your bed. It was ground down, and then it was resurfaced, and then it's been resurfaced again. And for the most part, the circuit is pretty smooth. But at turn 3, there's still quite a big bump, and that can unsettle cars. Safety cars off the track, as are all of the top 10, 12, 14 cars, as they go way wide at turn 20. The green flag with 25 minutes still to go is back in the air, and we are racing, and Zach Vanier heads up the hill to turn into the left-hander at turn 1. There used to be a bollard on the apex of turn 1. But that hasn't been there for a few years. It just used to get knocked out on lap 1 or 2 anyway. But that was a big help, because you can't see the apex of turn 1 as you come up the hill, and you've got to sort of diamond that corner in and make a first turn as it flattens out. So the banking and the uphill version helps you with your braking, and then it's just as you turn in, you need all that lateral grip. It all straightens out again. Down through turn 9, over the top of the brow, and down through turns 10 to turns 11. Zach Vanier in the black and white JDX racing car turns left-handed. I'm afraid the number 80, and this is one of the newcomers to our series, John Gilliland. That car, I think, was facing in the wrong direction. He may have been spun around there. Race control waiting to see if he gets restarted. And if he doesn't, we'll be going back to green as Dan Clark goes very wide at turn 12. And through goes Alex Sedgwick in the red, white and black, number 98. That was the battle for, well, Dan Clark was 7th across the line. Sedgwick restarted in 11th. If that's right, that's been a huge restart lap for Sedgwick. Dropping back is the number 8. And that is another red and white car. And that is the Michael McCann Kelly Moss racing car. And we see the Porsche safety car again, Shay Adam.
Yeah, unfortunately for John Gilliland, unable to move away under his own power. The car stopped at the exit of turn 1. One of the best liveries I've seen in a long time, with that very cool cow look to it. But unfortunately, the right front looks quite misshapen and a bit like maybe there might be a bit of radiator damage, just given where the positioning on everything in that car is. And is that right rear tire perhaps slightly out of camber as well? As on that restart, very impressive by Zach Vanier once again to run away from our champion-elect Luke Hartog. But further back in the field, what was it that got Gillen? Outbroke himself and wound up in the side of John Getz, unfortunately. That can happen in turn 1. It's very easy to get drawn in and think that you can go just that little bit deeper.
Yeah, not happy. Not happy at all. So, just going back to the...
You mentioned Sedgwick there, John,
Yeah.
and I'd just like to point this out because he did start 6th, so he must have been caught up in the kerfuffle off the start to get dropped back to 11th. So the Alex Sedgwick driving not with a bit of a vendetta, but just trying to prove some unfinished business with this weekend and get some more wins for the season. Has 2nd in the championship right now. He's got a 5-point advantage over Ryan Yardley, but Yardley has been very strong at Circuit Americas. Last year, it was the site of his first second-place finish. So if there's a weekend where you need to show up and make sure you get more points than the guy behind you, it's now. And Sedgwick clearly knows that.
So we're back for the second time behind the safety car, Zach Vanier. Zach Vanier be quite happy, I think, to see the Carrera White Porsche lead him around for the next 21 minutes. Look, a win's a win.
It's like what we had last week, John, when we had 2 cars off at turn 10 at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta, and Zach Vanier was clearly on the radio going, "Oh, there's too much oil down. It's not safe. We need to just be behind the safety car for the next half an hour." And for Zach Vanier, there is no better feeling than standing on a Formula One podium and hearing your national anthem play out, in this case, "O Canada." He got to do that the last time we raced on an F1 weekend in the U.S., and he very much wants to replicate that.
3 times this season, so for 6 races, the Porsche Carrera Cup North America has been on the Formula One weekends. And I can tell you, it doesn't matter what sort of racing driver you are. Talking to the WEC guys, a month ago or thereabouts, who they don't get to stand on the Formula One podium here. They do their podium interviews on the ground floor, and then they get to go upstairs. So it's a little bit different, but at least they do still get to go up there. It is very emotional, and it's something very different. And I'm very fortunate. I have stood on the podium here for a 3rd place in an endurance race, for a 24-hour race back in 2017. And I never thought I would get to stand on a Formula One podium. And it was, it's something very special. And that, look, I drive once in the blue moon. Even for these guys who are driving more often through the season, this is something very special and not something just to be, it's just another podium. No, it really isn't.
No, well, and to be honest, you can look at any of the drivers who have won this year on an F1 weekend, and their cover photos on Instagram are them standing on that podium. That's what matters. this calendar this year has not had a bad track. I mean,
No.
we started out at Sebring International Raceway, then Miami with Formula One, and then on to Montreal with F1 again, although those races were quite abbreviated due to weather. Watkins Glen in upstate New York, Road America, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, last weekend at Michelin Raceway, Road Atlanta. There's not a single one of those tracks that you think, yeah, it's okay that I won there. No, you earn a win at all of them.
Yeah. Absolutely right. Well, you earn a win in this championship because the cars, of course, we possibly should have mentioned this already, but the cars, of course, are all identical. The three different categories we have here are based on the driver's age and ability. And whilst the, shall we say, more experienced drivers, experienced in life, they're going to ask to be upgraded to the next calendar. The younger drivers in the pro class cannot be asked to go down over. So if you want to go and race with people who are a little bit younger than you, that's absolutely acceptable, Shay.
Yeah, and our perfect example of this is Mr. Jeff Mosing,
Indeed.
who all of his buddies race in Pro-Am, and even though he technically should be in the Masters class, he said, no, I want to race against my friends. I want to spray champagne at them, stand on the same podium. And that's exactly what Jeff is aiming to do. He's a local to Austin as well. So for him, there's a bit of an advantage getting to sleep in your own bed. Alan Menny with the same benefit. And these are two guys who are out here to have a bunch of fun. That's exactly what we see week in and week out for the Masters and the Pro-Am. Yeah, it's serious. And it is really hard fought competition. But at the end of the day, it's about spending your money well. And what better way is there to spend your money by driving a Porsche on a racetrack, and especially on an F1 weekend?
I absolutely agree. Porsche Carrera Cup North America schedule for next year is already out, and will start the season at Sebring in Florida in the middle of March with the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring. 36 cars here this weekend, and I just wonder how many we'll have there. That was the site of the all-time Carrera Cup record entry anywhere in the world, Share, earlier on this year.
Yeah, and what a packed grid it was. And I forget how many teams I think we had that weekend. It was something like 13 of them running all these different cars. But no team has been able to knock down the might that is Kelly Moss. They have been the champions for a few years now. JDX did get a championship as well, but Luke Hartog driving that Racing for Children's liveried car that's taken so many previous drivers to championships as well. I mean, Jake Edson, I think, was the first one who started it. Roman DeAngelis has represented. It's really been a lot of success. Riley Dickinson last year, shouldn't forget. A lot of success for a lot of very willing drivers and capable drivers nonetheless.
Just earlier on this week, the 992.2 GT3s announced from Porsche. The Touring and the GT3 itself being announced at the same time. Those are the street car versions of the Cup car. Some detailed changes to the styling on the front end, which I'm sure we'll see the Cup cars get in due course. Slight uplift on the price. Porsche can sell every one. Actually, Porsche could sell about 10 more of every one than they have built for the global market. And in the UK, which is obviously the market that I'm interested in, just over £150,000 now for the GT3 or the GT3 Touring. GT3 gets a backseat option for the first time, and also therefore the carbon fibre seats go back to the old 991.2 tilt carbon seats, which I'm very happy about because they were very comfy. And those cars are available to order from the end of this year, if you have the wherewithal and the, what's the word I am looking for, the tenure with your local Porsche centre. So we are waiting now down to just under 14 minutes for Just waiting for the track to be declared clear. And the safety car lights has gone out as the all-white IMSA safety car comes halfway down the back straight and accelerates away.
All right, Zach Vanier, you're going to have to do it again. This is getting to be an old trick for him at this point, holding off Luke Hartog on these restarts. But Luke is creative, and he will have figured out something different to try coming into this restart. Now, the problem for Luke Hartog is Michael Cooper right behind him, a Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona winner a few years ago. He's also somebody who's quite capable of making moves on restarts.
So about to go back to green flag racing, and therefore we are ready for the green flag. Let's hope that we get a little bit of racing here. As I said before, it will bother the leader not at all. Zach Vanier then heads through the final corner. He's waiting, he's through turn 19 now, gets onto the red and white curbs. Now puts the right foot down and heads up the start-finish line.
Ooh, big show at the nose from Luke Hartog on Zach Vanier, but once again, Zach focusing forward, pays no attention to the driver charging hard behind him. And Jimmy Libra under severe pressure from Ryan Yardley. I mentioned Yardley being good at Circuit of the Americas, not able to fend him off though as Yardley goes through. The Kiwi is up another position.
Yves Baltas in 6th position, Elias De La Torre in 7th, Ryan Sedgwick trying to get another good start in the red, white and black car, right ahead of Dan Clark in the yellow and green car. A little bit of corner cutting, a bit of extra grass being put down in various places as they're coming through turns 8 and 9. It wasn't there when we were there back in 17, which meant you just absolutely rode the curbs and the tarmac behind them.
Efren Castro is leading the Pro-Am class. He managed to get around Alan Metney on that restart with James Sofronis in 3rd. Meanwhile, in the Masters class, it is Chris Palomo leading the way in the silver and pink Porsche as Metney now diving down the inside. He's trying to defend from James Sofronis while Castro is right ahead of him. This is getting juicy. I said to watch that Pro-Am battle. I wasn't expecting it to get this good this early.
Just on 10.5 minutes to go. The sound of the 4-litre normally aspirated flat 6 echoing around the Circuit of the Americas. Thanks very much to our technical team from F1 TV. We can hear those now, and so can you. A lot of hard work going in behind the scenes. Side by side, Dan Clark in the green and silver car has the number 4 of Elias De La Torre with the also green but yellow car as well. And at the front of the field, the black and white of Zach Vanier under pressure from the champion-elect Luke Hartog. Nothing to lose for Hartog. The gold car is Yves Baltas, who pushes the number 98 red, white and black car of Alex Sedgwick wide at turn 1. Still Sedgwick in there, both cars right off the track, and Baltas getting very sideways as he had to cut through turn 4. Now coming through to that extra grassed area at turn 8 and 9. I like the creativity on the racing lines at that point, 7, 8 and 9. I'm being diplomatic there, Shane.
I like your way of phrasing that, John, as Alex Sedgwick finally dives down the inside of Yves Baltas, making the pass done at the hairpin. Yeah, there's a lot of creativity in terms of ways to get around this circuit. It's only 3.5 miles long, but we're seeing a lot of people coming up with some different ideas, and they are playing out in front of us, including the amount of dust being kicked up on the inside of a curb. Guys, that's not what the racetrack was. Okay, fine. Nope, I'm not even going to try.
You know racing drivers, Shea. And there was a
Yeah,
bit of contact, actually, as they both went well off the track at turn 5. Yves Baltas was defending so far he went off the track. Alex Sedgwick, who was not just all 4 wheels off the track, but all 4 wheels over the right-hand side of the green, which is the bit where MotoGP are off the track. And then they both missed turn 6 as well. There, that'll be being looked at, I'm sure. I don't think either of them got any kind of advantage, if I'm brutally honest. So it was kind of self-policing there through the final corner, and the leader goes way out off track again. And everybody is ignoring track limits. The white lines at turns 19 and 20 are double the width that they used to be, as down the inside goes Ryan Yardley. Ryan Yardley in the gold and black number 78 goes ahead of the
Up
pink.
in a podium position now,
Yeah.
John.
Ahead of Michael Cooper in the Baby Bull Racing pink car.
Yeah, Ryan Yardley just seems to have some kind of relationship with this track where he gets that confidence boost coming into it. Maybe he's spent more time on it on the sim than some of the other tracks, or maybe it's just one that captured his heart early on. But last year, 7th in the championship, this weekend was his breakthrough. This was when he first got to the podium. And Yardley, who's had a handful of podiums this year, about half the races actually, he's wound up on the podium. He's looking at a possibility of finishing 2nd in the championship. Unfortunately, the guy he's chasing is currently, 2 spots behind him and not allowing that gap to close very much. But Yardley's doing everything in his power. It's really impressive.
Zach Vanier at the front of the field, looking to add to his 2 victories this 2024 Porsche Carrera Cup North America season. Yokohama tyres have not had that much work to do here with 2 extended safety car periods, so there'll be plenty of performance. I expect to see people improving their times. More track cutting further back down the field. That is right on the ragged edge. A number of drivers, and oh my goodness me, this is a disaster then for
Peter
the 13.
Atwater and Todd Parriott.
Todd Parriott and Peter Atwater battling for 27th and 28th. It's around the far side of the corner and the circuit rather. Peter Atwater in the number 12 car has gone around. There's damage to the front there. That's at turn 15. And it's that tight hairpin where you come through 14, you aim it at the gap in the fence. That leaves a big gap down the inside. We're still green at the moment with 5.5 still to go. And Sedgwick is having a look at Jimmy Libra in the red, white and blue car as they pile down the hill. What happened at the far side of the circuit? In fact, I apologise, it was in turn 12, not in turn 15. The end of the back straight, and yeah, well, we've all done that. Ran into somebody there.
And unfortunately for Peter Atwater, he's a regular in one of our other series, John. He's perhaps not used to driving cars with so much power and such great braking capability as we get with these Porsches, and maybe that just caught him out as the safety car is rolling again. That should mean that we are going to finish behind that Porsche safety car, which means that I've got some arithmetic to do.
Well, unless that car can be flat-toed, I was giggling a little bit earlier on that the safety team went there and went to the right-hand side of the car. Now, I would expect people to do that if they're in the UK, because that's where the driver would be. They did that before, and now they go to the left-hand side to see if the driver's okay. The right-hand side door didn't open, and Tom Parriott into the pit lane in that very distinctive number 13, with the sort of cartoon anime style of livery. Sure, you're not old enough, but I am, to remember that when Porsches and their Cup cars, in fact, most of their racing cars were delivered in Carrera white, race white, which is the colour of our safety car, and therefore you would get a lot of white Porsches. The Carrera Cup cars now are delivered in GT silver, so any silver you see on the cars tends to be the base colour of the car, with the livery laid over the top of them. Now, did Alex Sedgwick manage to get by Jimmy Libra before the yellow came out down through turn 3? Yes, he did.
Yes.
Under the walkover bridge. Used the walkover bridge as a, it's not really even a braking marker there, it's just a lift in these cars. You've got to take a slightly different line and either take a lot of curb on the left hand side or take a late apex to turn 3 and be slightly further across and turn in late to turn 4 to miss that bump. 2.5 to go. You know what, if that Porsche takes a flat toe at turn 1 and they get him immediately behind the wall there, it's the middle of the back straight for the safety car lights to go out. We might literally get a green-white checker.
Well, my racing heart would love that. My sitting here having just done some arithmetic would not be as happy.
Neither would Zach Venier.
Exactly. Zach Venier would be saying, no, the track is way too dirty. We can't possibly go back to green flag racing. If it were to finish under this order, might I present to the court evidence that Ryan Yardley has vaulted himself one position in the championship by his performance today? That would mean that he would have 228 points to Alex Sedgwick's 226. In the Pro-Am class, it would still be Alan Metney leading, but because he got shuffled down to 4th on that restart in the Pro-Am category, with it now being Efren Castro leading the way, who is still 2nd in the championship coming into this weekend, James Safronis in 3rd and Marco Cironi, James Safronis in 2nd and Marco Cironi in 3rd, that would mean we have a 1-point difference between Alan Metney and Efren Castro. And I have not accounted for fast lap in any of the classes because the timing and scoring that we're using this weekend does not give us that easily, John. So we could potentially have a tie going into the race tomorrow for the Pro-Am Championship. And in Masters, Matt Halcomb with that last place finish, if it were to finish as it is now with Chris Belomo in the lead of the category for Masters, that makes it a 12-point battle for tomorrow.
Which is eminently doable with the points differential between first and last.
That is a first place finish for Belomo and a 5th place finish for Halcomb.
Yeah. So
and that's not including qualifying points, which is 2, and then 1 point for fast lap both ways.
Good point. So
yes, they are good points.
Yeah, Zach Vanier and JDX, Jeremy Dill and Harrison Briggs had a good chat with. Shane and I had a good chat with Jeremy Dill at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta last weekend. Good to see him back at the circuit and back in form. Looked as fit as a fiddle, to be honest. Fit as a butcher's dog's personal trainer. And good to see him. Harrison Briggs and the rest of the team been doing yeoman's work while he was away. Came back to the track and saw a JDX victory. I presume he'll be getting invited back all the time. And the checkered flag's come out. Now that's interesting. So the checkered flag has come out at the end of this safety car lap. I was expecting one more lap as the time hadn't quite elapsed as they came across the line. So that will be Zach Vanier on the top step of the podium with a slow return lap to the paddock. Luke Hartog in 2nd, Ryan Yardley completes the podium in the Pro-Am. What a drive by Alex Sedgwick, back up to 5th position.
Yeah.
With the, I should mention, in fourth, always the worst place to be, isn't it? Fourth position. The number 88 of Michael Cooper, who started on the front row, he'll not be happy with that. In the Pro-Am category, Efren Castro in 12th takes it from James Sofranas back in the championship in 15th, and Marco Cironi in 16th ahead of Alan Metney in 4th place there. And in the Masters class, as Shea was mentioning, Chris Palomo in 22nd take the top step of the podium from Kyle Washington back in form there, and Scott Blind in 3rd place, with John Getz having stopped, and we had also Peter Atwater, John Gilliland, and Matt Holcomb, of course, with that early stop with Joel Johnson, Peter Atwater, Todd Parriott, all having problems, Shea.
And the big thing was that pass that we saw a replay of Alex Sedgwick getting around Jimmy Lieber before the yellow came out. That actually does give him 12 points today. So Alex Sedgwick and Ryan Yardley are tied on championship points going into tomorrow. But again, we don't know who got the point for the fast lap. So it could have been one of them. It could be someone else. But that means that tomorrow's race will determine second in the championship as well. That's pretty cool.
That's a very good point. Well, a somewhat stop-start race. Zach Vanier will care about that, not at all. He takes his 3rd victory in the 2024 Porsche Carrera Cup North America with Yokohama season. Just hearing that the time expired when the leader was just coming around behind the safety car at turn 19, and no extra lap, just the 35 minutes on the clock, not the +1, although it would have been pointless to do the +1 because we weren't going to get the clearance.
Quite.
So actually not the worst thing to do, to throw the checkered flag. So Zach Vanier for JDX then takes the victory from Kelly Moss's Luke Hartog in 2nd. Ryan Yardley for top racing performance in 3rd. 3 of the super teams really in this championship. And as far as the other championships concerned, well, Luke Hartog, we know, is sorted for the championship. Is that 2 in a row for Zach Vanier then? He won the last, did he win the last race or the first race in particular?
The first race at
yeah,
Michelin
right.
Raceway Road Atlanta. But for Zach Vanier, we've had 5 races so far this year on F1 weekends. He's won 2 of them. That's a 40% win rate. And if he takes tomorrow, that's a 50% win rate. So Zach Vanier definitely performing when all the F1 eyes of the world are upon him.
And he will get to stand atop of that podium, which is just above his head at the moment where he's pulled into pit in. That is such a cool thing. Really such a cool thing for him and for JDX as well.
And for Kelly Moss with Chris Palomo and Riley Dickinson, last year's champion, there to celebrate because his protege Efren Castro winning the Pro-Am class. It's a good day for all the teams. Chris Palomo celebrating, standing on the inside rim of his car. It's a good day if you're Chris Palomo, and I'm sure the team hasn't even filled him in fully on all the drama that's elapsed and how close he is now to potentially a first Masters championship.
Nice to see Riley Dickinson, last year's champion, working with another team, working with Kelly Moss, isn't he, of course? And
yep.
Still, this is a very tightly knit community in the Porsche Carrera Cup North America with Yokohama Championship, and they all know what to do. Efren Castro with Kelly Moss taking the plaudits of Johnny Knotts, our lead pit lane official for IMSA who is there in his capacity, making sure that the regulations are upheld. IMSA bringing their own officiating crew, race director, etc. Always, absolutely always, in front of a huge crowd in beautiful conditions, with temperatures on the track well up to the mid to high 20s Celsius, and it is a t-shirt and shorts type of day at the Circuit of the Americas. Well, sure, that sets things up quite nicely. Luke Hartog didn't win today. He'll want to be on the top step of the podium to celebrate his championship tomorrow. He's going to be on the podium today. He'll want to be there tomorrow, possibly improved by one. But as far as Pro-Am and the Masters is concerned, that's tightened things up quite a little.
And second in the championship for the pro category.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is going to be one of those days where I feel really badly for the people who care deeply about everyone involved in these championships, because it's going to be a very limited sleep and a very tense couple of hours while these races are taking place. The lead up, the build up, when we find out what the official starting grid is going to be for tomorrow's race, if anyone went faster in the race today, they better their position for the start of the race tomorrow. So there's a lot that needs to still be sorted out after this one. But for right now, the three gentlemen in that cool down room, they're enjoying it, and rightfully so.
They're the three class winners. So Zach Vanier, along with Efren Castro and Chris Palomo, getting the full Formula One experience. Now the other question is, will Matt Holcomb's car, the Mystery Machine number 55, tangling with the red and white number 70, the Johnson car, will that be all right tomorrow? It was on the driver's side, it broke the back wing, and then it flipped back onto its wheels. Didn't go all the way over. And by the way, what a great piece of avoidance from that sort of taupe-coloured Josh Conley era motorsport car to get around the outside of a car that was completely out of control. Victoria Thomas down in the pit lane with the black and grey hat on. She is one of two principals of Kelly Moss. Riley Dickinson just
and
with the photo
Andy.
bomb, and yes, there's the other half of Kelly Moss as well down there, which is good news. That's a powerhouse. When you talk about powerhouse, that is a powerhouse. Paul Ryan is the man who's putting together all the season-ending videos, which will be played out tomorrow evening at Porsche Austin for the Night of Champions. Let's have our winners then. Chris Palomo comes up for the Masters category. I like the fact that all three winners get on straight away onto the Formula One podium, and the voice of Bob Constantiouris, the voice of Formula One podia around the world, is what you can hear in the background. Efren Castro, and finally Zach Vanier.
Chris's fourth win of the season, but his first time on this big stage. For Efren Castro, it is also his fourth win of the season, but his first came at Miami. And for Zach Vanier, win number 3, but win number 2 on an F1 weekend.
And his national anthem for Canada. Zach Vanier and O Canada to end our first of 2 races that will finalise the season. We'll be back to do it again tomorrow. I'm John Hindorf for Shea Adam. Join us again for the conclusion of the 2024 season.